Alright everyone, I apologize ahead of time for the background noise. I do have a bunch of kids in the house and they're trying to play and argue over every little thing, so I apologize ahead of time for that. But I did want to cover a really great question that was kind of just thrown out there in the Facebook world in regards to pocket knife lengths, the lengths of the blades on pocket knives. The question is, what I wanted to try to figure out as best I could was what length of blade is most popular on folding knives. What is the most popular length of the blade on a folding knife? Okay, so this is what I found out. Keeping in mind that I have no access to any knife selling companies' sales numbers, number of items that they sold in regards to the lengths of the blades. I don't know if knife companies even bother to keep track of that one, because that's very specific. So what I was able to get information in regards to this particular question is how many knives of inventory for these websites, for these companies. So Blade HQ, Knife Center, Smoky Mountain Knife Works. These numbers are the lengths of the blades, measurements of the blades, and then these are the numbers that are the number of items the number of folding knives that they have in their system, in stock and out of stock. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Alright, I did this on a note card and tried to make it as pretty as I could. So with this information, again, this does not tell me how many of what knives were sold, of what blade lengths. I don't have that information. So we're only really looking at this from the perspective of the knives that are being made out there, okay? And the lengths of the blades of all knives that are, not all obviously, but the vast majority of knives, because I'm comparing 3 websites here, the 3 major pocket knife selling companies here in the US. Oops, sorry, knocked down a flashlight. Alright, so Blade HQ, there's those. Of course, you have measurements, the blades that are smaller than 2 inches and ones that are greater than 4 inches. But so trying to get as close to an answer to our question, knives that have blades, folding knives that have blades that are less than 3.5 inches, that's our number. Knives that have 3.5 inches or longer blades, that's our number. For folders, okay? We're not talking about fixed blades, we're talking about just folding knives. Okay, which includes automatics as well as all your different manual opening mechanisms and locks. Alright, for Knife Center, they did their numbers a little differently as far as blade length goes. So I don't have the 3.5, I have less than 3 and greater than 4, and then I repeated again how many for that 3 to 4 inch group. So those are those perspective numbers for their inventory. And that again includes in stock as well as out of stock. Okay, then I do the same thing for Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Less than 3.5 inches, more than 3.5 inches or greater, really. So there's those numbers. So looking at these bottom numbers as well as all of it, you can pretty much tell that the bulk of knives that are made and sold, at least at these 3 companies, are your smaller knives. You know, definitely under 3.5 inches, for sure under 4 inches. If anything, you look at the 2 to 3 inches, over 5,000, almost 5,500. Knife Center, 2 to 3 inches, almost 2,500, and then 0 to 2 is another 300. So almost not too far from being 3,000. Okay, so 5,500, 3,500. well over, pretty much 3,500, almost 3,500 there. So, yeah, lots and lots and lots of small knives. Not quite so many knives that are over that 5-inch blade length. As far as folders go, this is folders, not including fixed blades. So that's the first thing to take from it. So as far as trying to answer that question, what length of the blade is the most popular and most common, at least in manufacturing, all the knives that are made and sold, at least in the U.S., because these are companies that are U.S. based. Is 3.5 inches the most common blade length? Is 2 3/4 the most common blade length? That's where I feel, looking at all these numbers and their corresponding blade length measurements, I would say that the vast majority of folding knives that are made, more knives are made in the blade, with the blade lengths being fitting between 2 3/4, so 2.75, and 3.5 inches. That is, at least in manufacturing, all the companies that make knives, all the custom knives made, everything that's sold in the U.S. here by these three companies, 2 3/4 to 3.5 inches. That's where the greater bulk. I mean, look at Knife Center, 3 to 4 inches, 5,000. Less than 3 inches, 2,007. So 5 versus almost 3. Just 2 3/4 to 3.5 is definitely, undeniably, by this information, the bulk of your folding knives fit into those blade lengths. So what's the mean? What's the average between 2 3/4 and 3.5? That would be 3 1/4. That would be 3.125, I guess. Actually throwing the calculation. So I wouldn't say it's 3.5. I wouldn't say it's 3 3/4. I wouldn't say it's 2.5 or 2 3/4. I would say the sweet spot as far as knives being made and sold here in the U.S., it's, if you to try to pinpoint it as best as you can, especially with me using this information, the closest measurement that you can boil down to is that 3 1/4, 3.125 is the average of the most popular length for folding knives that are being made and sold in the U.S. So, really cool question. Really, I had a lot of fun because my curiosity was killing me in getting this information, because I knew I could get this information and see the results from it. So, I hope this was interesting to you and maybe even helpful to some of y'all. And I'm glad I can pass it on. And please comment. Tell me your thoughts. Let's hear your opinions. Everybody's got one. So yeah, just throwing that out there because I thought it was an awesome question to ask and to explore a somewhat accurate answer, at least as far as what I'm able to get a hold of information wise. Alright, y'all have a wonderful weekend, and I'm interested to see and read the comments. Thanks, bye.